Hello, welcome to Abiding Life Ministries International. I'm Noah Wells, and I'm here with Shay Wells.
Hello.
I just wanted to talk about a message real quick. Well, it's an introduction, and I'll talk about a little bit of a message after the introduction. But I was praying a while ago about, I was trying to have God give me a different idea for things, and this idea popped in my head of having multiple people weekly do teaching on abiding
Mhm.
and just basically their own stories and their own message
Mhm.
with trusting God or just fully abiding in Him. And so I've asked quite a few people to send videos in, and my thought always is whenever I go traveling, it's always I always like to bring a few people with me
Mhm.
because I don't want to go in front of people and they just hear me. I would, because sometimes people won't hear from me, right? They don't
Mhm.
hear the message from me.
Yeah,
So
they're not
that,
your people.
yeah, that's why I like bringing Chad or Tim along with me because Tim will talk to a whole different group than I could ever do. Chad will talk to a whole different group than I could ever do.
Yeah.
And then same with me, I'll talk to a whole different group that they can never do.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where the idea I think was starting to come from because I already kind of live that way
Mhm.
whenever I travel and stuff. So I think it was pretty easy to then just kind of have another part of the idea of saying, okay, what if we just had certain amount of people I know,
Mhm.
men and women, I'm
Mhm.
asking to do this to kind of share their own story.
Yeah.
And I'd like to do it. We're going to start releasing them every Saturday. So then in Australia, that'd be Sunday for them. So,
Mhm.
everyone kind of gets it. And then I think the other part too is where the idea started coming from as well is we had a lot of people contacting us and saying, hey, I can't really find a church that
Yeah.
has abiding life messages. Do you know of a church or do you guys have a church? And we don't. And we don't really know too many people that actually share this kind of message, this freeing message.
Yeah.
So that's where I think the idea also came from is saying, hey, let's kind of give people, it's not really a church, but let's give people a
Messages.
message, an encouraging message. And I
Mhm.
think hearing it from all different people all over around the world is going to be really encouraging to a lot of people. I know it's going to be encouraging to me even listening to it. So
Mhm.
I think we're excited about doing it. We're going to see how it goes. Hopefully you don't have to have too many messages just from me, but we'll see how that goes too. We'll see how many
Okay.
people actually bring in some.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think most of my messages are going to be tangible things you can do to
Yeah.
start inviting Jesus into the moment. Because that is what my life has always been about is inviting him into the moment, no matter what it looks like, what kind of chaos it is,
Yeah.
invite him into the moment. So I with that being said, I would like, do you have anything to say?
Well, I was just gonna say, we just to kind of build off of what you were saying, we get asked all the time, are you gonna open a church? When are you gonna open a church?
Hmm.
But we have such amazing abiding life people worldwide that it's really not, in our opinion, fair to just plant a church in Colorado when that then can be, you have a church and then everyone kind of looks to that one pastor, like Noah was saying. It's like that one person. And abiding life has never been about one person. It's
Hmm.
about living the abiding message, and we all get to be a part of that. And so I really like this idea of kind of having the concept of church, of being able to go someplace every week and get a message and get that fill
Hmm.
and be able to really process that throughout the week. I think that that's a really important thing to do, but then also to not look to one person
Hmm.
and to be able to know that you can come, to our website, to our Facebook page, to our YouTube channel and see this message every week,
Hmm.
but that it's not centered around one person, but centered around the one.
Yeah,
You know, it's just,
exactly,
it's
yes.
recentering onto God each week, and hearing from other people, which is what I feel is so special about what God laid on your heart to do with this.
Mhm.
Because we do get that question a lot, or people worldwide that say, do you know of any church in Australia or, you know, in Texas or,
Yeah.
you know, all over the world? Do you know of a church that speaks on the abiding message? And we don't. So it was really cool that God laid this on your heart to kind of give people that same concept without
Mhm.
needing to move somewhere or
Yeah.
be somewhere, but just have that accessible thanks to the internet. So
Yes, and I've thought ahead too. I've asked people that live in different countries that speak a
Mhm.
different language to do it in their own language as well.
Yeah.
So people in their whatever country can
Yeah.
enjoy it as well.
Yeah, so it's gonna be an ongoing, buildable project, which is really fun that you've invited, because Abiding Life has kind of
Hmm.
pride themselves. I don't want to use that word in like it's can be kind of tricky, but in being a with ministry where it's not
Hmm.
just one person, it's, you know, if Mike always said, if you know, if you grasp this message, it's yours, take it, go talk about it. And so it's really cool that you're kind of continuing that same idea, that same value of
Hmm.
it's not just Noah Wells, although you
Yeah.
might hear from him a lot on these videos because we're releasing them weekly. But I like that you're bringing
Hmm.
everyone in, and it's a group project of
Yeah.
making sure that, you know, other people have a place to be. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and have a place to share their own story
Yeah.
about abiding, which I'm excited about.
Yeah. So that being said, message number one.
Yeah, so I'll
What do
do a
you
quick
have for
message
us?
because I think we're gonna have all the messages between 15 and 20 minutes.
Yeah,
We're not
keep
gonna
them
have,
short.
yeah, we're not gonna have them super long. So yeah, I think we're excited. So I'll just do a quick one I was thinking about doing with you guys, and yeah, and then we just look forward to hearing what you guys think every week
Yeah.
of, you know, maybe what we can do better, or if you want them longer or whatever. But I'm I'm excited to see where this is gonna go.
Yeah.
We're basically at.
I think it's just all of our biggest hope and prayer with this is that you would get something out of it every single week.
Mhm.
That you get to have a place to come every week and get a message, and then be able to kind of think on it all week and then come back each week for a new message from somebody else.
Yeah,
So
from someone else. So I think it'll be really neat.
yeah.
Yeah, so what I was going to talk about was when God was first calling me into ministry, I was a painter at the time, house painter. And so usually I'd have to wake up at 6 in the morning and then go to work, and then I'd be gone until what, 6 or 7 at night.
Mhm.
So you know, sleep was important to me. But when God started calling me into the ministry, you know, I think some people know this story. I said no right away. And I continued saying no until he would keep me up all night.
Mhm.
Like, just like all these thoughts coming into my mind of ministry. And I would like get maybe 2 hours of sleep and then work a full day. I mean, he he took me along with it. I was never too tired to work.
Mhm.
So he knew what he was doing, but I definitely fought it for a long time. And during this time, you know, because I was very, I don't know, shy is the right word, or just nervous. I guess I was just really nervous to then go in front of people and go and talk about my relationship with God. So I was talking to God one time, and I was at night, it was probably like 3 in the morning. And I'm like, you know, because I'm trying to come up with all these different excuses of why I can't be in ministry. And I asked him, I said, "Hey, what do you even want me to talk about? There's nothing, you know, nothing that someone else is already doing. Like, why do you want me to do it? Like, what do you want me to talk about?" And
Mhm.
I heard it as clear as day. I want to know my people.
Mhm.
And that really hit me hard because I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. So you want me to start sharing how to have a relationship with Christ,
Yeah.
have a relationship with Jesus, have a relationship with God. And you know, it's interesting because I'll talk to a lot of people about this, and they say, "Oh yeah, I have no problem going to Jesus.
Mhm.
Like I can pray to Jesus very easily, but then they say I'm too terrified to pray to God.
Mm,
Because I think in their mind, God is the big bad wolf,
yeah.
right? Even though, if you really think about it, God is the one that gave his own son for us
Mhm.
because he loves us that much,
Yeah.
right? So, but it is interesting that we kind of see Jesus because he was a human, right? So he probably is a lot more, what's the word for that? Like relatable
Mhm.
because he's a man or was a man.
Yeah.
And so maybe with God, it just seems a little bit more terrifying to go to
Mhm.
him.
Unreachable.
Unreachable, yeah, exactly. So that being said, I always want to try to give you guys tangible things to at least try to start talking to him because I know it is terrifying. Trust me, I've been there where I've done some certain sins or I've
Mhm.
lived a certain way for so long or I've just avoided them,
Mhm.
just flat out avoided them. And I'm like so scared to go back to him and just say, hey, how's it going?
It's been a long time.
Yeah, exactly. And you're kind of
Yeah.
putting your head down and you're
Yeah.
like, but I will say the things that have helped me is I always try to take a walk. My dad taught me that at a very young age
Mhm.
because him and I would take walks. And, this is when I couldn't read anything, when
Mhm.
he would take me on walks. But it was so cool because he'd say, okay, Noah, what do you see in the grass? And you kind of look at the grass or like a tree. I remember one time it was like, I think it was a pine cone. He's like, can you give me a message,
Mhm.
a Jesus-centered message in this pine cone?
Mhm.
And I was like,
Yeah. It's a pine cone.
it's a pine cone. So, I'm looking at it and I believe I did come up with a message.
Mhm.
And he was like, oh, that's great. I think he even used it later in the life with someone else. But that being said, walking and talking with the Lord always like kind of re-centers me, or I
Mhm.
kind of like remove all the
The
distractions.
noise.
Yeah, the noise.
Yeah.
You got a family, you got kids, or you got work, you got your phone. I mean,
Mhm.
phones alone are very good
Such a
distraction.
distraction.
Yeah. So it's nice to like put it down and then just go for a walk.
Yeah.
And how I do it with God is I really try to be as honest as I can.
Mhm.
And I know that probably sounds weird because we all know he knows everything about us already, right? So it's like, well, why would I want to talk to him then? But if you want to have a relationship, just like with a human, you got to talk to each other, right?
Yeah.
And I hear from a lot of people, they say, well, I go out and talk and I don't hear anything. Then go do it again.
Yeah.
Keep doing it.
Yeah.
Just keep doing it. And trust me, you will start hearing more and more from the Lord. And not saying that's the end game, right? I really need to hear from the Lord. I mean, sometimes I swear to you, I feel like years go by and I don't hear anything from him, right?
Yeah.
And you just start going, oh my goodness, God, why? Like, are you just not speaking to me? And really, I think it's just I'm not listening.
Yeah. I think the more you do it, the more you start at least seeing God in everything. You might
Mhm.
not hear him in everything, but the more you have that relationship, the more you start seeing what he's doing in your life.
Mhm.
And I know, like, even just being married, 9 times out of 10, Noah knows what I'm gonna say when he comes to me with something. He'll
Mhm.
even tell me, I know you're gonna hate this idea, but will you just listen to it
Mhm.
first? And I'm sitting there like, I don't like this idea.
Right.
You know that, but you still bring it to me and we still have
Mhm.
a conversation about it. And
Exactly.
sometimes you're right and sometimes you're wrong.
Yeah.
Sometimes you assume and sometimes I assume something of you, but you still come to me and I still come to you and have that conversation. And just
Mhm.
because God has already gone before you and he knows your path and he knows what he's doing in your life
Yes.
doesn't mean that you still don't get the privilege of having a conversation. And I know this is something for me that took a long time to, because I didn't grow up knowing I could even have a relationship with God. It was, I had this scroll of to-dos and I was never enough and it was always something else and I was a terrible Christian. And then when I married this man, he was like, you could have a relationship with Jesus. And I was like, that's not a thing.
That is not a thing, she said. That's exactly what
That's
she said to
exactly
me.
what I
Yeah.
said. And I was like, I doubted his relationship with God for years because I didn't understand it. It didn't make sense to me.
Mhm.
But the more I saw, because I assumed that God spoke in a big booming voice, and I kept
Mhm.
waiting for that big booming voice. And since I didn't hear it, I wasn't a good enough Christian. I wasn't doing the good enough things. I wasn't doing
Mhm.
all the things well. And the more I started living this relationship way in the way that you had taught me of like going for a walk, talking to God while I'm driving. One of my favorite things is while I'm braiding my girl's hair, being able to just talk to God and pray
Mhm.
over them in those moments. And I may not hear exactly what he's doing in my life or what his plan is, or he may not give me the answers to my struggles, but I do when my eyes are fixed on him, I see him in my life more. I
Mhm.
still don't have the answers. Things don't magically, he's not like a magical genie where everything goes normal and fine. But in this way that you had really taught me of being able to just go on a walk and seeing God in everything,
Mhm.
it shifts your focus onto him and not in a demanding you need to answer me in a way, but instead it's a I have a relationship, I trust you kind
Mhm.
of way.
Yeah.
So just to speak on what you're saying of being able to just go on a walk and talk with God
Mhm.
really changed my life for sure. And I just appreciate that your dad taught you in that way
Mhm.
too,
Yeah.
of being able to just make it so simple of just going on a walk and talking to God.
Yeah. Where it stuck with us, I mean, even when I was in my 20s, I would go to his house, he'd say instantly, "Let's go
Mhm.
for a walk."
Oh, when we would
You know?
go, when we first got married,
Mhm.
we would go down here. I unfortunately only met Mike a handful of times because he was traveling so much when we got married, and then he
Mhm.
passed away a year and a half after our wedding. But or somewhere along those lines.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Um, but every time we would go down to Mike and Betty's house, Noah and Mike were just gone. I was like, what is happening? But they would go on like these 2-hour walks.
Mhm.
And then you both would come back so like refreshed and
Mhm.
renewed
Yeah.
of just, you weren't doing anything,
Mhm.
but you stripped the distractions and it was just you and God and your best
Mhm.
friend. And you
Yeah.
guys were able to do that. So I
I know.
think it's a good message.
I almost started crying just while you're talking because I miss that so much,
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
going out
Mhm,
with my friend and we're talking
mhm.
about Jesus the whole time. It was such a special
Made me
thing.
cry too. Crying on our first
Yes.
message. No, but it is so special, and I think, um, that it was really cool that your dad did that, but that also you were able to pass it on to everyone who's watching now,
Yes.
because it is so simple, and there are
Mhm.
many men specifically who have come to you asking for advice or asking how
Mhm.
to lead your family well, how to, kind of be a spiritual man, a spiritual leader. All these
Yeah.
men have come to you and you're like, when was the last time you've gone on a walk with Jesus? And it's like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean? It's just the simplicity of Jesus that I just think is so beautiful.
Yeah. And I think the important part too is you don't have to go on a walk and get real deep with him if you don't want to. You can really start. I've done this many a times of starting just of saying, "How's your day going?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And sometimes I leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I open up even more, like, "Hey, I'm
Yeah.
struggling with this," or, "What can I do here?"
So you're
Or
saying there's no
I
script,
I don't think so.
and
I
you just
really
get to talk to God as if he were your best friend standing
yes.
next to you.
Yes.
Because I know for me, I was taught to go to God with my desires and my struggles,
Right.
and that was it.
Mhm.
I could only go to God with what I was struggling with because He needed to heal me,
Yeah.
and with my desires because He needed to give me.
Mhm.
So He was my healer and my giver.
Yeah, right.
He wasn't my friend. He wasn't my dad. He wasn't
Yeah.
a caregiver. He wasn't loving. He wasn't caring. He wasn't kind. He didn't care about anything else. So,
Mhm.
what you're saying is, I can go to God with just my normal conversation as if I were sitting across the coffee table with the best friend or on a
Mhm.
walk with the best friend.
Yeah.
You're saying I can just go to God as if He's just someone I'm on a walk with. I don't need to talk about my struggles or quote scripture to him
Yeah.
or remind him of who he is. I can just be.
Yes. Absolutely.
I love that. It takes the pressure off.
Yeah, and for me, that's helped me a lot through the years of just realizing, yeah, you're gonna go talk to someone who knows you so well, but guess what? He loves you
Mm-hmm.
so much. I
Yeah.
mean, he loves you so much, he allowed his son
Yeah.
to get brutally beaten
Mm-hmm.
and then hung on a cross to die.
Yeah.
And he allowed all that
Mm-hmm.
for us.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, I can go to him now with anything,
Mm-hmm.
but yet it takes time.
Yes.
You know, I'm not saying you're going to figure this out right away.
No.
And for me, like when I used to paint houses, I would drive for like an hour and a half to the work. I would just talk to God all the way there,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it just ramble on,
Yeah.
you know. So, like you said, I don't think there is a script, but I do, in my opinion, believe it's important to have a relationship and start talking to them. I feel like you're really missing out
Mm-hmm.
if you just accept Christ, and you can do that. God does give us that choice. We can just accept Christ
There's
and
no rules,
and
but
have nothing, you know, just kind of live life.
Mhm.
But I feel like you're missing out.
Yeah.
You're missing out on knowing a true loving God who lives with us,
Mm-hmm.
within us, and us and him.
Yeah.
You know, I just think I always think about that. You're just missing out. And I tell myself all that all the time that,
Mhm.
man, no, you haven't talked to God in a while.
Yeah.
You're really missing out. And trust me, I've gone to him before and asked him to heal me. And you know, I heal me. Oh, please heal me. Please heal me. I remember one time I said, are you going to heal me? I heard as loud as day, no.
No.
I was like, sweet. Now I don't have to pray. Now I don't have to
Yeah.
waste my time praying for it and wonder if he hates me,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because that's another thing. You think he hates you because he's not healing you.
Yeah.
No, he has a plan.
Yeah.
He has a plan for all of it.
Well, and I think, and yeah, I do think, like as far as relationship goes, how you were saying how you're missing out.
Hmm.
It's the same as like you can have a marriage. You can
Yeah.
have a marriage for 50 years. But if you don't choose to have conversations or
Yeah,
go on
communicate,
dates or
yeah.
pursue each other, you're missing out on
Mhm.
what your marriage could be or your
Mhm.
relationships with your kids could be.
Yeah.
It's that pursuit and that relationship
Mhm.
that really makes things better.
Yeah.
Just makes things better. That's the only way
Yeah.
I
And
can describe it. Not that it's bad,
no,
but
not
you
that
can
it's bad.
just,
Yeah.
you're missing out if you're not going deeper.
Yeah. And you're really helping yourself out because you're focusing on Jesus and not
Yeah.
all the other garbage that's in our life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
And so go to him as you are. This is basically the end of this. Just go to him as you are. Say, hey, what's going on?
yeah.
My dad used to always say, Jesus, you're welcome here.
Mhm.
That was his way of saying, God, I'm talking to you right now.
Mhm.
And that's fine too. Whatever it is, just start getting to know him. And trust me, it'll be worth it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. Thank you for watching and listening.
Yep. And I think next week's video is by someone else,
Yes, it is.
which is so fun.
I know.
Little, what is that? I don't know.
Preview? No? I don't know. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know the word.
All right. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.